D, wait for it, delightful.
Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
What's up, nerds? So I just finished the latest episodes of the episode of the Orville. And it was called like Midnight Blue or something about a blue. And that plays into a little bit of it. Sorry, I just need to get some coffee so I can get pumped and everything. This episode was pretty good. I have to say, when it comes to the Orville, they've kind of switched modes a little bit, and it's gone on to the more of like the messaging in the program, which I personally, I'm like, it's a little much sometimes. Like, and like, for instance, in this one, we have Topa back into it, and Topa's like a big thing and everything. And I have to be honest with you, I don't want any more Topa. Like, I'm sorry, like, I don't know how you feel about this character, but I personally find this character so freaking boring. Like, she kind of had her run that what was it, episode 4 and everything, which was fine. And then this episode was like the same freaking thing. And I'm all like, I don't care about Topa. Like, I just don't know. Like, maybe it's just me. But like, I don't know. I don't want the character like, die or anything like that. But the character, in my opinion, is just like, I'm like, Topa, like, yeah, we got it. You're a girl. Yay. Okay, we got it. You're Bortus's daughter. Yay. But after this, I'm just like, I'm tired of seeing episodes all devoted to Topa, this character that I give 0 F-bombs about. Like, I just don't care. I much rather focus on the crew, the bridge crew of the Orville than on Topa, like a little kid. Like, what? I mean, is this Space Cases? I don't think so. If you know what that is, you're cool. If you don't, I'm sorry, welcome to downtown Coolsville. Population, me. Anyways, also another complaint I have about this show, and I mean, and you may not think it's a big deal, but the episodes are a little too long, I think, because they do a lot of crap here that I'm all like, hey, can you speed this up? And I'll point them out when we get to it. But for instance, like when they're walking, I'm all like, I got it. You want to show off the walking and stuff, but I'm all like sometimes they want to show off their visual effects and everything. And I get that, but I'm like, this is taking way too long. Like, why are we showing off these little fireflies and everything? I'm like, I don't need 40 minutes of this. I don't. You can like, I don't know, 5 seconds and I'm good. So, and I know you're some of you might be like, oh, you're just complaining about the dumbest stuff and everything. And maybe I am. I'm not, I'm not saying, I mean, maybe that's, that's just like a small petty complaint, but I'm just like, that's just a complaint I have. And I'll talk about the other stuff when I break this sucker down. But again, there are things in this episode that I did like. So before I get started on this breakdown, though, I just want to say one quick thing, that if you like what I do here and you enjoy independent content here on YouTube, please consider subscribing to my channel. YouTube is always changing. They're changing up their algorithm to totally screw over small content creators like myself and some of my friends. And we're just getting shoved way to the back of the line, to the point where we're not even seen anymore or heard. YouTube doesn't care about us. So I please ask that you like, share, and subscribe. And I thank you in advance if you do. I thank you for everything you guys do. Even if you only watch 2 minutes of this, I appreciate every minute of your time. I really do. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's get started on this breakdown. So it starts out on the Orville, and everything. And it starts out in the mess hall. And Kelly's sitting there and she's waiting for somebody. And she's got this little chocolate milk drink, which I thought looked delicious. I was like, what kind of alcoholic beverage is that? Daddy wants to partake. There's plenty of them out there that's like, they look all chocolatey and stuff. So she's waiting for Bortus, and Bortus sits down and they're just like having a little chit chat or what. I love this facial expression on Kelly. She's all like, oh, he drank that really fast. Must be a hard week and everything. And he's talking about how he's having problems with Topa. And since she detransitioned back into a female, because she was born female and then they transitioned her into a male and then she detransitioned back into a female. he talks about how he thinks that she likes a boy, but she won't tell him. Sorry if I get this all messed up. I'm sorry. There's a lot of stuff going on. By the way, also, if I pronounce people's names wrong, please don't yell at me in the comment. I mean, you can mention it, but like one time Clyden, I think I said Clyden, and one of you and I always say like people yell at me in the comments, but I'm pretty sure that you weren't yelling, but they like snapped at me like it's not Clyden, it's Clyden. And I'm all like, okay, calm down, okay. I'm like, yeah. Anyways, it's like you're complaining about the length of these episodes. Anyways, so she's all like, hey, sometimes it's hard because girls don't like to open up about that stuff, especially with their father. And he talks about how Clyden was better at this sort of thing because Clyden was born female and then they transitioned him into a male. And she's like, do you want me to talk to her? And he's like, yes, it is agreed upon. You will talk to her and everything. And so then she goes over. Topa's doing her homework. Hopefully, do your homework, kids. It's really important. Yeah. And she comes in and she's all like, I'm running a simulation and I wanted to know if you wanted to be a part of it. And she's like, I would love to. And she's like, be there at 11 o'clock. She's like, is everything else okay? And she's like, are you, stuff, boys, girls, whatever. I can't remember exactly what she said, but she sits down and she's like, how do you know if a boy likes you? And she's all like, so she sits down and talks to her and everything. And I just want you to know, I have a daughter. She's 6, so we don't have to worry about this just yet. Although one time she told me she had a boyfriend. I was like, what do you mean? What's his name? And his name was like Ralph or something like that. I was like, who is this Ralph and everything? I don't fear this conversation, but I'm going to I don't know how you are with your kids, if you have kids, but I'm straight up I'm straight to the point and I do not lie. I'm like, I don't have time for that nonsense. You need to know about the real world and boys. And I'm going to tell you what's doing. They got one thing on their mind. Trust me, I know I'm a boy. That's the only thing I have on my mind 90% of the time. Anyways. So she's like, how do you know if a boy likes you? And she's like, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just have to come out and ask. And that's another thing too. Like, I don't know how you are dating and everything, but me personally, I was always like, if I was into a chick, I was straight up with her. I was like, listen, I'm digging you. Do you dig me? And if they said no, I was like, boom, we're done. I was like, I'm not like I remember one time this girl, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. I was like, we were like seeing each other. I was seeing her. She was just, getting free food and shit. But we went out to like dinner and lunch and movies and shit. And I paid for everything. She brought her friends. I paid for her friends and shit because I was trying to, get some of that, you know what I'm saying? And then one day, we were out to lunch and I was just straight up like, listen, that I'm into you and everything. Are you into me? And she was just basically like, she did the whole, well, like as a friend. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, this check is going to be split into 2. Yeah. She's paying for her own. Yeah. And then we hung out after that, but that was the end of the free ride. Anyways. Okay. So she's all like, well, who's this boy? And she's like, well, we have a lot in common. I like it because he's funny and we have a lot in common, all that stuff. And she's like, well, just tell him how you feel. She's like, well, what if he doesn't feel the same way? And she's like, it happens and everything. And it does, if you've ever been rejected, it happens. It's not fun, but it happens. You just got to move on. There's plenty of fish in the sea, as they say. So then Gordon is sitting here in the engineering room and he's talking to him about his brother joining the Federation or being on the Orville. I can't remember. I think it was being on the Orville. And I love how he's talking about his brother being a drunk screw up. And I'm all like, Gordon, you're kind of a little bit of a drunk, not a screw. I don't think Gordon's a screw up. I think he's just like, I don't know. Gordon's my favorite character personally. I think he's funny and he has a beautiful singing voice, by the way. What was it, like 2 episodes ago? Yeah, beautiful singing voice. He could lose a little bit of weight. He's a redhead, though. Redheads have no souls. Remember that. Anyways, so Topa comes in. I was like, and she's like, Gordon, I would like to speak to you. And I was like, oh, Gordon's her crush. And she's all like, she's like, would you like to have a meal with me? He's like, yeah, I'd love to. And all the crew members like get what's due and everything. She's all like, and she's like, I like you. And he's like, I like you too. And she gets like, I didn't get a screen grab of it. She gets so happy when he says that and everything. And then finally she's like, I would like to have dinner with you. Would you like to have dinner sometime? And he's like, oh, and he's like, there it is and everything. And he's like, listen, he's like, you are like a kid the kid sister I never had. And she's like, a sister. And he's all like, he's like, and I love spending time with you. And she's like, I have to go now. And he's like, and this guy is all like, he's like, you're handsome and everything. And I'm all like, I love these alien characters. I wish they really did more with the aliens besides Bortus. That's the thing about these sci-fi shows is I honestly do. Everybody's a human, or like human-esque. Like this guy's human-esque, but I just wish they had more of these alien species and everything. So they're talking to the admiral, and he says, they have to go check. If you remember from this season, she was only in a hologram, but Heveena, she has that colony, or Heveena. Oh, don't get mad at me. Anyways, she has a colony of Moclan females, and it comes from season 2 or season 1. Please don't get mad. I don't remember all of it, and I didn't rewatch them to prepare for this show. But I think it was season 2 when Topa was born. And he said, and they decided that she was going to go and start this colony of female Moclans. They would stop, turning female Moclans into males. But she had to stop her underground railroad for female Moclans. And they're going to go to observe this colony with a Moclan surveillance team, and they're going to check out the colony and make sure that they're following all the rules that they agreed to. And it's going to be Bortus and Kelly. So they're trying to figure stuff out, and she's all and Topa is all like, Heveena is, a role model and an icon and somebody I look up to. Can I please go with you? And he's like, I don't think so. She's like, and Kelly, is all like, it wouldn't hurt her. Now, I have to be honest with you, even though they talk, he says, and I'll say it later, but, they consider her a member of their family. She is overstepping sometimes. Like me personally, as a parent, I have no problem making decisions. And when I tell my kids no, the answer is no. That's the end of the discussion, not the beginning of a negotiation. And I feel like Bortus is kind of like, he's kind of rolling over in this situation, which wasn't like overwhelmingly bad, but you'll find out later on. But he does tell her, and he's like, you can go. And she's like, I'm so happy. And he's like, but if you go, you have to listen to everything I say, or you'll be sent back to the ship or whatnot. He does not follow through with this, and she breaks her word because she's a little liar. All kids are liars. They mean well, but they do their own thing. So they go through this nebula, and it's very pretty. And they go to this planet, and they break through, and it's this beautiful, like scenic Hawaiian-esque Caribbean islands, Turks and Caicos kind of setting or whatnot. Very beautiful. And they land. Oh, and the Moclan team was supposed to meet them in space, but they didn't. They landed and everything. So he tells her to stay on the ship. And they get out, and they're talking to the Moclans, and they're like, you were supposed to meet us in space. And he's like, you were late. We got here early, and we decided instead of wasting time, we were going to do our survey. It looks like they've done everything. Sorry about my dog. They've done everything they're supposed to do. She's like, great. Well, then we're going to do our survey. And of course, Topa, like the little idiot that kids are, she gets off the ship, even though her dad told her to stay on the ship, and she said she was going to follow his orders. I'm telling you right now, I would have sent her right back to I'd been like, you're going back to the Orville right now. Or I would have put her on that shuttle and locked it up. I'm like, no, punishment time. You lied. You disobeyed what I said. But this one right here, this asshole, he's all like, who is that? And he's like, that is my daughter, Topa. And he's all like, she's all like, he's like, he's just an observer. And she's like, yeah, we said we could bring along females for this thing. It didn't say what species. And he's like, and then this asshole right here, this middle one, he's like, oh, what a disgusting creature. And I'm like, don't talk about her like that. Oh, there he is. What a disgusting creature. And I was like, rude. You can tell he wasn't raised correctly. And Bortus is all like, what'd you just say, fucker, about my kid? I was like, Bortus, you have way more I don't know what the right word is, but you're a better man than me, because I'd have been like, oh, you're about to catch these hands. I'm 5 foot nothing, 100 pounds of nothing, and I'm about to lay the smack down on you. Talk about my kid. So they go to the colony, and there's all these females in this utopian, Amazonian colony, everything. They're all happy-go-lucky. I'm all like, I don't think it would be that way, but whatever, it's fine. There's a lot of bad acting going on with all these extras. That's why they're extras, because there's a lot of bad acting. Like, it's so much like somebody hands somebody his fruit, and she's like, and everything, and I'm all like, what's going on here? What didn't they tell you? I mean, what did they tell you before they started this scene? Like, act normal, because you're not acting normal. Anyways, so this woman comes up and she's like, how were they? And she's like, they were outnumbered, and when you're outnumbered, you'd always act the way you're supposed to and everything. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. I'm like, although I feel like I could take you. Like I said before, I'm a 5 foot nothing, 100 pounds, and well, I'm 5'4", but 100 pounds and nothing. I feel like I could take you. Anyways, so she goes to meet Heveena, and she's listening to Dolly Parton's 9 to 5. And she's like, the words of the music of Dolly Parton inspires me when I'm doing my writing. And so they're sitting here talking, and she's like, you're an inspiration. This is such an honor to meet you. And she's like, no, I've read about you. I'm honored to meet you and everything. And she's all like, do your survey and everything. Topa, you want to sit here and hang out with me? Come to my writing nook. And she sees her shrine to Dolly Parton, which is a little weird, but whatever. And I just want to say real quick, I love Dolly Parton. And it's not just because I like her music. I there was a time when I was younger when all I listened to was country music, and then I drifted away from that. And there's only a handful of country music artists that I really like Willie Nelson, and Dolly Parton, and like Tim McGraw and everything. And the rest of them, I'm like, I can do without you. But yeah, I don't only just like her music. She is such a nice person. Like, every time I watch an interview with her or I see her and everything, she just seems like such a genuinely kind person. And I'm all like she's the kind of person that I think people should strive to be. Like, she's kind, and she's generous, and I don't know, she's just so charming and everything. And I love Dolly Parton. She's such a sweet lady. Yeah. So she's talking about her and how all this stuff, and Topa goes and she says, listen, she's like, I want to thank you for speaking up for me during the trial, because I didn't have a voice, and you were my voice. And she was all like, and I can't remember what Heveena says, but oh gosh. And then they talk about how I can't remember what else they talk about. Sorry, you guys. By the way, Rena Owen, who plays Heveena, she's so great. I love her. She's a really good actress, and she does a good job here. So then they're celebrating these firefly thingies. I can't remember the lightning bugs. I can't remember what they're called. And they're sitting here talking, and they ask if these two are a couple. And they're like, no, we're just coworkers, and we're really good friends. So Topa sees these lightning bug creatures. I can't remember what they're called. She's like, can I go see the lightning bugs? He's like, sure, yeah, go ahead. And she's in here looking at them. And they spend way too much time on these freaking lightning bugs. Like, I got it. You guys, you got some extra money to do some visual effects. I get that. You want to show it off. I get that too. But you guys are taking a lot of time just to show off some freaking lights. Okay. And daddy's, I ain't got time to sit here and watch this and everything. So Heveena comes up and she talks about how the lightning bugs, there's all sorts of colors with the lightning bugs. There's red, yellow, green, white, and purple, but there's rare blue ones. She talks about how Topa is a rare blue one, and she gives her this necklace that she made. And she talks about how they get these at the ocean, and how it's a volcanic stone, and the ocean and the volcano colliding ends up making something so beautiful and everything. And Kelly sees them, and she's all like, great. She's, with her people. And then she tells her, she's like, listen, I'm still doing the Underground Railroad for females on Mockless, because they are not doing. I've stopped that, and they're not, and they're still transitioning females into males. So she's like, so to get to our spy on Mockless, we need, I'm going to have you on the Orville, and I'm going to have you, if you agree to this, I will tell you the codes to our special connections, and I will tell you who our connection is on Mockless. And then you will be because the Orville has a high antenna, I can't remember, the transmitter array. You're perfect to send these transmissions to Mockless, and but I'll be secret. And she's like, but if I tell you this, you can't tell your dad or anybody, or Lieutenant Kelly, or anybody. And she agrees. She says yes. Now I just want to say right now, Heveena is one of the villains of this episode, because for her to enlist a child, and they talk about this later on, is just monstrous. I'm sorry. I understand that you're trying to do a good cause, but this child should not be brought into this like that. I'm sorry. She's way too young for that stuff. And if you disagree with me, you're wrong. She should not have brought in a child. That's just the end of that. Yeah. So she leaves her, and then she sees a blue one. And then, of course, she follows it. And, of course, they spend way too much time showing her walking away from the camp to follow this blue light. And I'm all like, you guys, I get it, but this is just way too much. You're wasting time. And then she gets kidnapped by the Mocklins and everything. And they sabotage sabotage their, what is that? It doesn't matter. And then they take her away. So then they're sitting here and they can't find Topa, and they find her necklace, and they're like, what did you say to her? And she's like, I will not tell you. So they get back on the shuttle, and they're like, they sabotage the ship. So we have to take off all rough and stuff. And they're like, well, our transmitter array, we can't contact the Orville. It'll take us a couple days to fix it. And she's like, do you want to go get Topa, or do you want to wait for the Orville? And he's like, of course I want to go get Topa. What kind of dumb question is that, Kelly? So because their little their footprints, their space footprints are starting to lose it. So so then on the ship, she's like, why have you kidnapped me? He's like, it speaks. And I can't remember what he says something like, did you lose anything when they cut off your like chalupa or whatever? I don't remember what he says. And I'm all like, did they give her a penis when they transitioned her into a male? Like, that's, I don't know what Mocklins have downstairs, but and it's not called a chalupa. I just know it's an alien thing. Anyways, so then back on the Orville, sorry, they are trying to contact them, but they can't. So they go into the nebula, and which is a no, they are not supposed to do that. And they get her up on the thing, and he's all like, what happened? And she's all like, the dudes, those bad dudes took her and everything. And she's Kaylee. Oh geez, what's her name? Tala, Kiali. There we go. Kiali. I keep wanting to say Kaylee, and you guys get mad at me for that. She starts an investigation. I don't know what she's going to investigate. We already know what happens. Anyways, but he's like, I feel like you're not being upfront with me. And she's like, I told Topa, what about all this stuff? And he's like, you did what? She's a child. And I'm like, yeah, she's a child. Naughty, you stop that. You stop that right now. And she's like, I had to, and everything. And I'm like, no, you not enlisting a child. That's ridiculous. So anyways, so he tells him, he's like, they don't want the Mocklins to leave the Union because they need them, and they feel like if they leave the Union, bad things are going to happen with the Kalons. And I agree with that, but at the same time, I just go, yeah. I just go, I get it and everything. So, he's like, you got to tell me. She's like, nope, I'm not telling him. And he's like, fine. And he's like, is it worth a child's life to save this thing. And she's all like, you know, thousands of young Moclan females will be harmed because of this. And so they're chasing him down. She's in her quarters, and because he's all like, if he's like, I want you to stay on board until we figure this whole thing out. And she's like, if you insist. And I'm like, yeah, he insists, honeybee. And she's all like, I'm supposed to escort you to the holodeck. And she's all like, what kind of trick is this? And he's like, it's not a trick. So they take her to the holodeck, and she goes into this cabin. As soon as they did this, well, as soon as they took him to escort you to the holodeck, I knew what they were doing. And I was like, yay, and everything. So then she's sitting here and she's like, what is this? And then Dolly Parton comes in. I was like, oh, I knew they were gonna get Dolly Parton. And she looks great. God, I love Dolly Parton. She's so sweet. And like in this scene, and of course she gets to her knees, she's like, oh, and everything. She's meeting her hero. She's like, you are not real. And she's like, sure, I'm not real. I'm just a hologram, and I've been made up of a bunch of like interviews and bio stuff and everything. She's like, but that doesn't mean I can't talk to you. And I've been told I'm a good listener. And again, I have nothing but good things to say about Dolly Parton. She is, I think I love her music. She's so great. And then as a human being, she's just a fantastic human being. There was one time where I think it was in Texas, they wanted to put up a statue of her. And she was like, no, do somebody more important than me. And I was like, oh, she's so humble too. Like, she's such a great person. I have nothing but good things to say about Dolly Parton. I have nothing but good things. And so she tells her about her quarrel, her problem. And she tells her a story about when she was a young girl growing up in, cause they're mountain girls and everything. She grew up in Tennessee, and she says that when I was younger, hold on, she's like, I cut 3 of my toes really bad. Like they were almost severed off. And she's all like, and because we were poor and we were so far away from the doctor, my mother, she used cornstarch to stop the bleeding. And she used kerosene as a disinfectant. And she's like, and she used her sewing needle and yarn to sew up my toes, and she saved my toes. They didn't have to get cut off, kind of thing. And she's like, and now I'm walking around and everything. And she's like, granted, my brothers and my dad had to hold me down, but because of her using her ingenuity, she fixed the problem. She's like, I don't understand how that relates to mine. And she's like, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is that you do what's right now, and then in the future things will work themselves. The future will work itself out. And then she's like, can I sing a little song for you? And she's like, oh, that'd be great. And everything. She's like, and then she starts singing. I was like, oh, Dolly, I love you. You're just great. Look at you with your little suspenders. She's so fantastic. I have nothing but nice things to say. She's done a lot for charities and stuff like that. She's really great. So then I can't remember what happens here. I think she comes in and she's like, I'm ready to tell my story. I tell about Topa and everything. So they head to Earth, and then they figure out they're going to this planet, and there's this little base right here, and Topa gets put in this room, and this guy comes in, and he's all like, sit down, have some water and everything. And I just want to say real quick, hold on, I have a picture of it. As soon as this guy popped up, he reminded me of Toxic Avenger. I was like, oh, look, it's Toxic Avenger. For all you youngsters, you don't know who Toxic Avenger is, but that's Toxic Avenger. Like, look, as soon as he popped up, I was like, that's what he reminded me of. The whole time I'm all like, Toxic Avenger's a funny dude. Anyways, so he basically says, he's like, I'm going to tell you why you're here. You know the codes. You know who the spy is. Tell me who it is, and I won't hurt you. Don't tell me, and it's going to be pain time. And I'm all like, of course. And he hits her because she's like, I don't know. And I was like, of course she's not going to tell you, dude. You're just going to have to start hitting. That's the thing about torture is you have to start the torture, because how are you going to believe anybody? Because she could have lied and been like, yeah, it's John Smith on Mockless and everything. And then it would take him forever to figure it out and everything. So these two find the base and they land and everything, and they're walking to the base. Now, this is another problem I have. It takes them so long to get to the base. And I'm all like, you guys are wasting time on this episode. Stop doing this little stuff. Okay. This isn't Lord of the Rings. You don't have to have 40 minutes of them walking. They get to Earth and everything, and Gordon wants to come with him to the council and everything. He's like, she's like my little sister, and he's like, fine, but you got to be quiet. Now, everybody's breaking their rules and stuff. So they get here, and she tells her story about how she broke the rules of the Underground Railroad for females. And the Mocklins are pissed and everything. But he's like, will you let an investigation go by? Because they say you took Topa. And he's like, no. So you have no evidence of this. And again, they're walking. They jump over this ridge. Bortus makes it, but Kelly doesn't. She falls. And I'm all like, ha, yeah. Girl power. Anyways, so he's like, we're going to have to fix your arm. And this time, this is very touching because he's like, even though you're not, bloodline, we still consider you a part of our family. And she's all like, thanks, Bortus. So he's pretty much heard her, and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's all like, this is a krill death stick. He's like, it took me a while to get one, but he's like, it's torture time. And he's like, let the light fill your wounds and let the truth come out, or some crap like that. These two, they break into the base and everything, and there's barely any guards. There's like skeleton crew. I was like, you guys are not protecting your torture victims very well. So he's torturing her. It was really sad. I didn't like it. So she finally decides she's going to give up the info because she's like, I can't handle it anymore. She tells them. Fortunately, I don't think he doesn't tell him what it is or whatnot. Bortus comes in. And he's pissed. He's like, did you do this to her? And he's like, yeah, I did. And he attacks this dude and shoves the death stick in his other eye, and he blinds him in his other eye. And I was like, yeah, he deserved that. Yeah, fuck that dude. They get him in there. They take off, and these other fighters, I didn't get too many screenshots. It's hard for me to get screenshots when it's an action, like a space battle like this, because I don't feel like it conveys the space battle. But there's like they take these fighters out through these canyons or whatever, and destroy them, and then they get out back on Mokla or on Earth. They're sitting there basically saying like, listen, you got there, you're this is our culture, and you're disrespect. I have to be honest with you. The Union is disrespecting their culture constantly, and they're trying to change the Mocklins into what they are not. I don't know how I feel about that. If they weren't all males, I think it was last episode they had that females ran species, the Amazons or whatever, and their males were like put down to a lower class and everything. And I'm pretty sure they won't try to change their culture. They're just gonna be all like, oh, work with us and everything. But I'm pretty sure they won't try to do what they've done to the Mocklins and everything. I'm not saying the Mocklins are right. I'm just saying they won't do the same thing. Well, Gordon, he's pissed. So he stands up and he's basically like, you guys are assholes. We bend over backwards for you. And every time we step out of line, you guys say you're not respecting our culture. And I've had enough of it. And he's right. He's right. They have been, and they tell him to shut up. They're like, shut up and everything. And they're like, so then they go before the council and they're like, listen, she needs to be brought up on charges. You have no proof that we've done anything wrong. And if you do, say something now. And of course, in walks these guys with Topa, and they're like, she refused medical treatment, so you can see what they did to her. They kidnapped her. There's a base. We have schematics, yada, yada, yada. And so everybody stands against the Mocklins and with Topa, which they should, because they both Heveena and the Mocklins did bad things and everything. They both broke their agreement, which I think they both should be held accountable. And they're not. Heveena is not held accountable, in my opinion, but we'll talk about that later when we get to it. So then she apologized to Bortus, and she's all like, I don't expect you to forgive me. And he's like, that expectation is correct. And I'm with Bortus. If that was my child and she enlisted her in her little rebellion thingy or whatever at, what is she, 12? I'd have been like, I don't forgive you either. You want forgiveness? Go talk to Jesus. I hear he's dulling it out like candy canes. I am not going to forgive you. And I hold a grudge. I don't know how you are, but when it comes to my kids, I hold a grudge and I am petty as hell. I will never forgive you if you wrong my children. I'll tell you that right now. And I will do everything in my power to make you remember it. I am not forgiving at all. And neither should Bortus. I hope he holds this over her forever. If you know what that reference is, you're awesome too. Anyways, so he comes in and he's like, we've kicked the Mocklins out of the union. I was like, good for you. I was like, it sucks, but that's what you should have done that a long time ago. It sucks that the Kalons are a threat, but you should have done it a long time ago. They're obviously children and they need to be put in their place. And once they've realized that they were wrong, then you can maybe bring them back into the fold. Now, he says it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little hard because there's like, ships and stuff, yada, yada, yada. And then he tells her colony will be protected by the Union. Now, I think that is a plus for her, but she is not held accountable for her actions. She broke the agreement. And if she hadn't broke the agreement, Topa wouldn't have been in this situation and the Mocklins wouldn't have to leave the Union. So she's partially to blame for this whole thing. And yet she's not held accountable at all. And I don't like that. It's wrong. She should be held accountable. And they're all happy for her. But that's the failure in the writing of this show. And I think it's like it's Star Trek Discovery. No one is held accountable in that show for breaking the rules. And I'm all like, it's just lawlessness and everything. So Topa's getting medical treatment and she comes in and she's like, listen, physically she's healed, but mentally she's going to need therapy, and she will, because you just can't be tortured with a death stick and everything's okay. And then she's like, hey, Bortus, you have a visitor. And I'm not going to lie, this whole scene, I teared up watching this. And it's Clyden. I was like, oh my gosh, he came back. And he's like, as soon as I heard what happened, I took the first shuttle here. And I was like, oh, Clyden and everything. I was like, oh my gosh. And he's all like, and he's so happy to see his husband. I was like, oh, I was like, this is a moment that I'm enjoying very much so. And he's all like, may I speak with her? And she's so happy to see him too. I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, oh, I teared up like I am right now. It was such a good moment. He's all like, and he's like, I'm so sorry for the things I said the last time I saw you. I was so angry and I was so brainwashed into what I was taught to believe for so long that I couldn't realize that I love you for who you are. And I should have, like, he was transitioned at a young age and, he was brainwashed to believing that was okay. And then she was transitioned at a young age and then realized that she was born female and not a male, but they transitioned her into a male. And then she went through the detransition of it and realized that, that was the best thing for her. And so maybe we shouldn't transition these children at a young age, let them grow up the way they are. And if they want to transition later on, that's fine. And I think that's what we should do. Leave kids to be kids. Let them grow up as kids. And he says, I love you for who you are and everything. And she cries a little bit and everything. And I was so happy because as a parent, your kids are everything. And look how happy she is and everything. And Bortus is happy too. I mean, his face is not very happy right here, but you can tell he's happy that his husband is back and that he realizes what he did was wrong. So they're having dinner and Kelly comes in and she's all like, I can't remember what she says to them, but he's all like, I'm sorry for what I said to you last time we spoke. I was upset. And I still go back to Kelly overstepped overstepped with, she's not her mother or her parent. So she overstepped a little bit, but he's like, I'm sorry. Would you like to join us for dinner? And she's like, he made some kind of soup, this blue soup. And she's like, it's spicy. And it goes back to the thing earlier, but it doesn't matter. She's like, well, I do like spicy. She sits down and they have dinner. And then that's the end of the episode. We get this, that's the end of the episode. And again, the episode was pretty good, and everything. I just have those tiny little qualms with things like the fact that Heveena wasn't held responsible for her, deplorable actions, in my opinion. You don't enlist children into your thing. You want to do this, use adults. Because children, they don't have the mind capacity to really make the right decision all the time. But yeah, I liked it. It was pretty good. I think it's got 2 more episodes left this season, and we'll see how that works out. I'll do a season 1 review or season 3 review, you guys. But Yeah, that's it. I think I've talked way too long as is. Tell me what you guys thought about this, this episode. Did you like it? Did you not like it? All your comments and stuff. Leave all your comments in that section down below. If you like this video, go and hit that like button. I won't mind. If you're new to my channel, please hit the subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys on my next Orville breakdown and review. You guys have a good week. Bye.